Have you ever been alone in the woods, so deep that even your own breathing feels too loud? Imagine the sound of the trees whispering, the night air pressing against your skin, and a faint echo in the distance. Something that doesn't sound human, yet feels eerily familiar. Tonight, we journey into a story that questions what truly hides in the silence of nature. This isn't just about camping. It's about what happens when the forest decides to speak back. It was late September when four friends decided to escape the noise of city life. They'd read about a secluded campground called Whispering Pines, hidden deep within the Appalachian forest. The group included Elias, an amateur sound engineer fascinated by unexplained audio phenomena, Rowan, a filmmaker known for chasing strange stories, Maeve, whose quiet demeanor hid an adventurous heart, and Lucien, the skeptical one, a realist who believed there was a logical explanation for everything. They arrived just before dusk. The road had turned from asphalt to gravel miles ago, and now their SUV creaked along a narrow dirt path surrounded by towering pines. The forest seemed endless, the kind of place where you lose your sense of direction within minutes. When they finally reached the campground, it wasn't what they expected. There were no signs, no gates, just an open clearing surrounded by dense trees. The ground was littered with damp leaves, and a small, abandoned cabin stood at the edge of the woods, its windows dark, its roof sagging slightly. "Are we sure this is the right place?" Maeve asked, glancing at the map on her phone. "Coordinates match," Elias replied, his voice steady. "No signal, though. Perfect place for recording ambient sounds." Lucien smirked. "Or perfect place to get lost." They set up camp near the cabin, pitching two tents while Rowan unpacked his camera gear. He wanted to film their night in the forest for a short documentary, something about nature's silence. Ironically, the woods didn't feel silent at all. The air carried faint, shifting tones, low hums and distant clicks that came and went like whispers. Elias adjusted his recorder, setting up sensitive microphones around the site. "This forest has a sound," he said quietly, "like it's alive." As the sun slipped behind the trees, the shadows stretched long across the clearing. The forest seemed to close in, swallowing the last traces of daylight. The group gathered around the campfire, their laughter soft against the rising chorus of crickets and rustling leaves. But just as Rowan lifted his camera to record the night sky, a faint echo rippled through the air, a long, drawn-out tone that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Did you hear that?" Maeve whispered. Elias froze, eyes wide. That wasn't an animal. They waited, listening. The forest fell still, unnaturally silent. Then, from deep among the trees, came another sound, faint but unmistakable, a human voice, repeating something low and distorted, as if played backward. Lucien stood, shining his flashlight toward the woods. "Probably someone else camping nearby," he said, though his voice trembled slightly. But when the light hit the tree line, there was nothing, just mist drifting between the trunks. Rowan checked his camera, zooming into the darkness. The lens picked up movement, a shadow, tall and motionless, standing between the trees. "Elias, are you recording?" he whispered. Elias nodded, his recorder's light blinking red. "I am now." The voice came again, clearer this time, a whispering hum that seemed to carry their names. Maeve clutched her blanket tighter. "Tell me you heard that." Elias's eyes darted toward the woods. "I did, and it said my name." The fire burned lower as the forest grew darker. Even the crickets had gone quiet, leaving a heavy stillness that pressed against the group like invisible hands. Elias adjusted the knobs on his recorder, his face pale in the flickering firelight. "What do you mean it said your name?" Lucien asked, trying to sound calm, but failing miserably. Elias rewound the recording, pressed play, and turned the volume up. At first, it was static, faint, broken, and almost rhythmic. Then came the whisper, drawn out and warped. "Eli, as," followed by what sounded like a low sigh. Maeve covered her mouth. "That's not possible," she murmured. "No one knows we're here." Rowan lifted his camera, capturing everyone's reaction. "Maybe it's some kind of echo. You know, like when sound bounces back strangely in the woods." Elias shook his head. "Echoes don't form words." He turned toward the tree line again, staring into the blackness between the trunks. The mist had thickened, creeping closer like a living thing. The smell of damp earth grew stronger, and beneath it, something else. A faint metallic tang, like rust or blood. Lucien grabbed a flashlight. "All right, I'll check it out. Probably just some weird acoustics or a hiker messing around." "Don't go alone," Maeve said quickly, but he was already walking toward the trees, the beam of light cutting through the fog. Each step sounded louder than the last. The crunch of leaves, the snap of twigs. The others watched silently, the fire crackling between them. After a minute, his light vanished behind the trees. Then came his voice, faint and distant. "Hey, I think I found." Static swallowed the rest of his words. Rowan stood. "Lucien." No answer. Only the sound of wind brushing through the branches. Elias grabbed his recorder and followed, with Rowan close behind. Maeve hesitated by the fire, torn between fear and the thought of being left alone. She picked up a lantern and hurried after them. The forest closed around them like a trap. The deeper they went, the harder it became to tell where the sound was coming from. It shifted, sometimes behind them, sometimes far ahead. The mist shimmered under their lights, forming faint, human-like shapes that vanished as soon as they blinked. "Lucien," Elias called out. His voice echoed strangely, softer, delayed, almost mimicked. "Lucien." The echo replied faintly, in the same tone but slightly off. Maeve stopped dead. That wasn't an echo. Rowan turned the camera toward the direction of the sound. "Elias, record this. We're getting something real." Before Elias could respond, his recorder began to distort again, loud static, then soft, drawn-out breaths. Over the noise, a whisper bled through. "Don't follow the sound." Maeve's face drained of color. "Did it just say?" "Yes," Elias said. "And it's not Lucien." A shadow flickered across the fog, tall, thin, moving impossibly fast between the trees. The beam of Rowan's flashlight caught something pale, a hand, long-fingered, retreating into the darkness. Rowan stumbled back. "Oh God, what was that?" "Lucien," Elias shouted again, his voice cracking. This time, something replied. From the darkness came a perfect imitation of Lucien's voice. Calm, clear, and close. "I'm right here." But when they turned their lights toward it, there was no one there. Only silence. Then, a single sound echoed through the forest, the snap of a branch, sharp and deliberate. Rowan whispered, "We need to go back." But as they turned around, the faint glow of their campfire was gone. The woods behind them had changed. There was no path, no clearing, no way out. Elias's recorder clicked on by itself, and the whisper returned, low, patient, almost amused. "You shouldn't have listened." The forest was no longer the same. Where the campfire once burned, there was now only endless fog and the faint silhouettes of trees stretching in every direction. The air had grown colder, thicker, every breath visible, every sound amplified. Maeve clutched Rowan's arm. "This isn't possible. We came from that way." Rowan turned in a slow circle, shining his flashlight through the mist. No landmarks, no trail. It's like the forest moved. Elias crouched beside his recorder, his hands trembling as he rewound the last few seconds. The tape was distorted, full of white noise, broken by faint whispers. But between the static, he caught a phrase, faint but clear enough to freeze his blood. "Stay with us." He looked up. "It's not just sounds anymore. It's communicating." Maeve's eyes widened. "Communicating?" "Elias, that thing mimicked Lucien. We need to find him, not talk to whatever this is." They began walking, moving together through the fog. Every few steps, something rustled in the distance, too heavy for an animal, too slow for the wind. The deeper they went, the quieter it became. Even their footsteps seemed to vanish before reaching their ears. Rowan kept filming, his camera trembling slightly. If we make it out, this footage is going to prove everything. People need to see this. Elias didn't respond. His eyes were on the recorder. The small device in his hand had started picking up something new, a rhythmic pulse, faint but steady, like a heartbeat echoing through the air. "What is that?" Maeve whispered. Elias swallowed hard. "It's close." They followed the sound, each step heavier than the last. The forest floor turned soft under their feet, as if the ground itself was breathing. When they reached a clearing, Maeve gasped. There was a small circle of stones in the middle of the clearing, old, covered in moss and dark stains. In the center stood Lucien's flashlight, still on, pointing upward, but Lucien wasn't there. Rowan approached it cautiously. "Lucien." The only reply was the wind, or something pretending to be it. A faint voice drifted through the trees, low and pleading. "Help me." Maeve turned toward the sound. "That's him." "Wait." Elias grabbed her wrist. "Listen carefully. That's not Lucien." The voice came again, clearer now, but wrong. Each word stretched, as if something was struggling to shape them. "Help me, it's dark." The sound made their skin crawl. Rowan raised his camera, scanning the tree line. His light caught something just beyond the clearing, a figure standing still, its outline faint in the fog. It looked like Lucien. "Lucien!" Maeve shouted, breaking free and running forward. "Maeve, stop!" Elias yelled, but she didn't listen. As she neared the figure, it stepped closer too. Its movements were slow, almost puppet-like. Rowan zoomed in with his camera, and his blood ran cold. The figure was Lucien, or rather, something wearing his shape. His face was pale, expressionless, and his eyes reflected the flashlight like a predator's. "Maeve," Elias whispered. "That's not him." She stopped only a few feet away, trembling. "Lucien, are you okay?" The thing tilted its head, bones cracking as it moved. Then, in Lucien's perfect voice, it whispered, "Why did you leave me?" Maeve screamed as it lunged forward, and the lights went out. Rowan's camera dropped to the ground, recording only the sound of chaos, footsteps, screams, and something dragging across leaves. Then, silence. When the lights flickered back on, Maeve was gone. Only her lantern remained, flickering beside the circle of stones. Rowan stared at it, his breath quick and shallow. "We need to get out of here. Now." Elias looked around helplessly. "There's no path anymore. We're trapped." A low hum filled the clearing, growing louder, deeper, vibrating in their bones. The recorder in Elias's hand began to glow faintly red. The hum twisted into distorted whispers again, overlapping voices calling from every direction. Rowan covered his ears. "Make it stop." "Elias, shut it off." Elias looked down. The recorder's switch was already off. The voices were coming from the forest itself. And just before the sound faded, one final whisper broke through, soft and deliberate, as if right beside his ear. "You brought us back." The forest had gone completely still. No wind, no insects, not even the usual creak of trees. It was as if the entire world was holding its breath. Elias and Rowan stood motionless in the clearing, their flashlights barely cutting through the fog. Maeve's lantern flickered weakly beside the circle of stones, the only sign she'd ever been there. Rowan swallowed hard. "She's gone, Elias. She's just gone." Elias stared at the spot where Maeve had disappeared, his recorder clutched tight in his hand. "No," he whispered. "She's still here. I can feel it." Rowan looked around in disbelief. "You think she's alive after what we just saw? That thing, whatever it was, it looked exactly like Lucien. And now she's gone because we ignored the warnings." Elias cut him off, eyes dark and hollow. "Remember what the voice said? Don't follow the sound. We did the exact opposite." Rowan paced in circles, panic breaking through his calm exterior. "This place isn't normal. The air, the echoes, the way everything shifts. It's like we're stuck in a loop." Elias crouched near the stone circle, brushing away moss from one of the rocks. Strange symbols were carved into them, old, uneven, and almost erased by time. His hands trembled as he traced one with his finger. These aren't natural formations. Someone, or something, made this. Rowan moved closer, his flashlight sweeping across the ground. That's when he saw it, half buried beneath the leaves, a small metal box. He knelt and pried it open. Inside were several cassette tapes, all labeled with dates from the 1970s. Elias's breath hitched. Recordings. He took one of the tapes, wiped off the dirt, and slid it into his recorder. The tape crackled to life with distorted noise. Then came a man's voice, tired, desperate, barely above a whisper. If anyone finds this, stay away from Whispering Pines. It doesn't want to be recorded. The sounds, they're not echoes. They remember. The tape skipped, and the voice turned frantic. We try to capture them, but they changed us. Every sound is a piece of what used to live here. It listens. It mimics. It becomes. Rowan's eyes widened. He's talking about exactly what we're hearing. Elias nodded, frozen in place. That's why it sounded like Lucian, like Maeve. It's using them now. The recorder hissed, and another sound emerged, a whispering chorus, faint but growing louder. Among the voices, one stood out clearly. Elias, come home. Elias's face went pale. That's Maeve. Don't, Rowan said sharply. It's not her. But Elias couldn't look away. The voice sounded so real, so full of fear and pain. She needs help. We can't just leave her. Rowan grabbed his arm. We're leaving, Elias. We're getting out while we still can. Elias tore free and stumbled into the woods, following the voice. Rowan cursed under his breath and chased after him. The fog seemed to thicken with every step, distorting shapes and shadows. The trees leaned closer, their branches twisting like reaching arms. Maeve, Elias called. Where are you? The voice replied softly, right here. He turned and saw a figure kneeling by a tree. Maeve, or what looked like her. Her face was pale, her eyes blank, her hair damp and tangled. Maeve, Elias ran toward her, but Rowan shouted, Elias, stop. The figure lifted its head slowly. Its mouth opened, far wider than humanly possible, and from it came a sound. Not a scream, not a cry, but a layered mix of whispers, static, and deep groaning tones. Elias fell backward, clutching his ears. Make it stop. Rowan fired his flashlight at the thing. For a split second, the beam cut through the distortion, revealing dozens of faces shifting beneath Maeve's skin. Men, women, children, all screaming silently. Then the light flickered out. The forest filled with the same deep hum as before, the heartbeat sound. The ground shook beneath them. Elias crawled toward his recorder, pressing every button in panic. We have to document this. People need to know what's out here. Rowan grabbed his arm. Elias, forget the recorder. Look, the stone circle had begun to glow faintly, each carving pulsing with dim red light. The sound grew louder, vibrating through their bones. From between the stones, something began to rise, a shape, tall and formless, its body made of writhing shadows and echoes of voices long dead. Elias whispered, It's real. The echo. The thing turned toward them, the sound bending around its presence, not just heard but felt. The trees shook, the fog swirled violently, and from somewhere deep inside the forest came a scream. Lucian's voice, pleading for help. Rowan backed away slowly. We have to run. Elias stood frozen, staring into the darkness. I think it wants to be heard. And with that, he pressed record. The sound that followed was so loud, so unnatural, that it seemed to rip through the air itself. A blend of every voice that had ever entered those woods. The world spun, lights flashed, and then everything went black. The world returned in fragments. Light, sound, breath. Rowan opened his eyes to a dim, shifting glow. The forest was quiet again, but not peaceful. It was the kind of silence that felt heavy, like the air itself was listening. His flashlight flickered weakly beside him, half buried in the soil. The fog had thinned, but the clearing looked different, twisted, rearranged, as if the forest had reshaped itself while he was unconscious. He sat up slowly, his head pounding. Elias. No answer. Only the faint buzz of his camera, still recording from where it had fallen. The lens pointed at the stone circle, now cracked and blackened. The faint glow that once pulsed beneath it had vanished. Rowan crawled closer, his voice shaking. Elias, where are you? Something glimmered near the stones, Elias's recorder. The red light was still blinking. Rowan picked it up, his hands trembling. He pressed play. At first, there was only static. Then came Elias's voice, ragged, terrified, whispering between gasps. Rowan, if you're hearing this, it's not just sound. It's memory. Every voice, every echo, they belong to it now. Whispering Pines isn't a place, it's a collector. It remembers the ones who listen. Rowan's throat tightened. Elias, what did you do? The tape continued. I tried to record it. I thought it wanted to be heard, but I was wrong. It wanted a way through. The sound, it's alive. Once you hear it, really hear it, it never leaves. It becomes you. Then came a deep rumble, followed by Elias's scream. The tape ended abruptly. Rowan stared into the fog, panic setting in. No, no, no. He turned to run, but the forest wouldn't let him. The trees seemed to shift, their trunks closing in like walls. Every direction looked the same, endless paths leading nowhere. And then he heard it again. The voice. Elias's voice. Rowan. It came softly from behind him. He froze. Elias. Another whisper joined it. Maeve's voice this time, trembling and faint. Don't run. Just listen. He turned slowly, the flashlight shaking in his hand. The fog thickened, and within it, figures began to form. Outlines of people, dozens of them, fading in and out like static on a screen. Their faces flickered, sometimes strangers, sometimes familiar, and among them, Elias and Maeve stood side by side. But their eyes were hollow, black, reflecting no light. Rowan, Elias said, his voice layered with others beneath it. You can join us. We're part of it now. It's peaceful. Rowan stumbled back. You're not real. Maeve smiled faintly, then stopped listening. The whispering grew louder, hundreds of voices overlapping, chanting, humming. The air vibrated so violently that Rowan dropped his flashlight. The forest around him pulsed with the sound, the trees, the ground. Even the air seemed to breathe in unison. He clutched his ears, screaming, "Stop, please." But over the chaos came one last voice, soft and human, Elias's true voice. Destroy the recorder, Rowan, before it starts again. Rowan hesitated only a moment. He looked at the device in his hand, the little red light still blinking steadily. His heartbeat matched its rhythm, one pulse, one flash, over and over. He raised it above his head and smashed it against the stones. The recorder shattered. The sound stopped instantly. The silence that followed was immense, absolute. The fog lifted slowly, revealing the faint outline of dawn. The forest was still again, just trees, leaves, and cold air. Rowan stood there for a long time, breathing hard, staring at the broken pieces of the recorder. Then he picked up his camera. It had survived the night. The footage was still running. He whispered, "If anyone finds this, don't come here. Whispering Pines isn't abandoned. It's waiting." He turned toward the faint trail that had reappeared through the trees and began walking. The forest watched in silence as he disappeared into the light of morning. But as the camera continued to roll, one last sound emerged faintly from the broken recorder, almost too quiet to hear. A whisper. We never leave. If you heard this story and made it to the end, tell me, would you dare spend a night in Whispering Pines? If you've ever experienced something strange or unexplained in the woods, share it in the comments. Maybe your story isn't so different after all. And if you enjoyed this chilling tale, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves a good scare. Because next time, the echoes might be closer than you think.